The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as the human delegation entered. Ambassador Eva Chen walked with measured steps, her boots clicking against the crystalline floor, while Luis Vargas followed 2 paces behind, carrying a sealed case that seemed to weigh nothing yet, drew every eye in the room. The Thraxians had been the first to request human assistance. Their homeworld burned under the relentless assault of the Kresh swarm, a hive-minded species that had devoured 17 civilizations in the past cycle alone. The Council had exhausted every conventional military option. Fleets had been sent. Armies had been deployed. All had failed. Now, in desperation, they turned to humanity, the newest species to join the galactic community, the ones who had clawed their way up from a death world that should have killed them 1,000 times over. The Council recognizes Ambassador Chen, the Archon intoned, its translucent form shimmering with barely concealed anxiety. Eva stepped forward. Honored members, you asked for soldiers. You asked for warriors who could turn the tide against the swarm. She paused, letting her words sink in. We heard your call, but we must be honest with you. We're not sending soldiers. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Thraxian representative's feathers bristled in alarm. Then what are you sending? It demanded, its voice breaking with desperation. Ava's expression remained neutral, but those who knew humans well enough might have detected the ghost of a smile. We're sending something far more effective. We're sending the monsters we created to fight ourselves. Luis stepped forward and placed the case on the central podium. With a thought command, holographic displays erupted into the air, showing images that made several council members recoil. This is Sergeant Eva 7, Eva continued, gesturing to the hologram of a figure that looked almost human. Almost. She's part of our Apex program. When humanity reached the stars, we didn't abandon our greatest survival trait, adaptation through evolution, but we got impatient with natural selection. The hologram rotated, revealing enhanced musculature, subdermal armor plating, and neural interfaces that glowed with an eerie blue light. But it was the eyes that truly disturbed the Council. Eyes that held an intelligence that was ruthlessly calculating, predatory in a way that made prey species instinctively retreat. We took our soldiers, volunteers who understood what they would become, and we remade them, Eva said. Enhanced reflexes that let them perceive time at a fraction of normal speed. Bones reinforced with carbon lattice compounds. Regenerative factors that can heal battlefield wounds in minutes. And cognitive enhancements that turn each one into a tactical supercomputer. This is barbaric, the Valorian delegate hissed. You've created abominations. We created survivors, Luis interjected, his voice cold. You see, Ambassador, every species in this council came from worlds that were kind to them. Garden worlds, with gentle gravity, abundant resources, and predictable seasons. Earth tried to kill us every single day. Ice ages, supervolcanoes, pandemics, megafauna that saw us as food. We survived because we became the apex predator, not the strongest or the fastest, but the most adaptable, the most persistent, the most willing to do whatever it took. Eva pulled up another hologram, this one showing Luis himself in combat armor that seemed to drink in the light. Lieutenant Luis Vargas commands Alpha Company, 200 Apex soldiers. Each one has spent years training in environments that would kill any of you within hours. They've fought in null gravity, underwater in acidic atmospheres, and in the frozen wastes of Titan. They don't just survive hostile environments, they thrive in them. But the swarm, the Thraxian began. The swarm operates on instinct and numbers, Eva interrupted. They overwhelm through mass and adaptation. But they've never faced something like us, something that adapts faster, thinks deeper, and refuses to die. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to something almost intimate. You asked why we're the monsters we fear most. Because we know what we're capable of. The hologram shifted to show archived footage from Earth's history. Conflicts that had scarred their world, innovations born from desperation. The relentless human tendency to turn every obstacle into an opportunity. War machines, biological weapons, nuclear fire, and through it all humans surviving, adapting, overcoming. We studied our own history, Luis continued, and we asked ourselves, what would it take to defeat us? What kind of soldier could stand against humanity's worst impulses? He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. The answer was, only another human. So we made ourselves into our own worst nightmare. Eva activated the final hologram, a simulation of Apex soldiers engaging the Kresh swarm. The council watched in horrified fascination as the human warriors moved through the enemy like a scalpel through flesh. They didn't just fight, they hunted. Every move was efficient, calculated, brutal. The swarm's numbers meant nothing against opponents who could predict their movements, exploit their weaknesses, and simply refuse to fall. The Apex program represents everything we fear about ourselves, Eva said quietly. The capacity for violence, the willingness to sacrifice our humanity for survival, the ability to become the very thing that once hunted us in the dark. She looked around the chamber, meeting each delegate's eyes. But it also represents our greatest strength. We can change, we can evolve, we can become what we need to be. The Archon was silent for a long moment. Finally, it spoke. And if we accept this aid, what guarantee do we have that these monsters won't turn on us? Luis answered, his voice carrying absolute certainty. Because for all that we've changed, we're still human, and humans protect their allies. He paused. Besides, we know what we are. That's why we chose to become this, so others wouldn't have to. Eva sealed the case. The Kresh swarm is coming. You can face them with conventional forces and watch more worlds burn, or you can accept our help. The choice is yours. The council chambers erupted in debate, but Eva and Luis stood silent, waiting. They knew the decision was already made. Desperation had a way of overcoming fear. 3 days later, Alpha Company deployed to the Thraxian front. The swarm learned for the first time in its existence what it meant to be prey.